Right, this is my versatile flak build. I like it because it's good for killing bosses and it's good for killing ads. I've seen a lot of builds and they're usually specialised to like one or the other. So one's good for killing ads and one's not good for killing bosses or vice versa. I've tried to make this as good as possible for doing both. To start off, I use Persistence Hunter. It's really good because the gun damage is very useful and the action skill duration's very good for doing more damage with your ability. Next is Self-Repairing System. I use this because other than Furious Attack, the other the other 4 perks that you can choose from are really not worth it. So I use Self-Repairing System for the extra health and regeneration. It's really nice. Furious Attack is so useful. You can do 20% extra gun damage. You can have almost 50% extra handling on your weapon when you have all 10 stacks. This makes it really useful for clearing ads and for going against bosses. I chuck one into all my BFFs to get further up the tree, but it's also useful for helping your pet get a bit tankier for those situations where you need to be revived. Put one in Lick the Wounds. Turntail Run's very useful because while standing still you gain gun damage and fire rate. Very useful for taking on heavy enemies while in your ability. I use Leave No Trace for the extra gun damage. It's very useful. Helps me kill bosses and ads quicker, and the movement speed is great for running away to try and get your shields back up. Finally, Hidden Machine. I only use this really to get up to the Unblinking Eye perk, but it's not that it's not useful, it's just it's only useful while you're in your cloak ability. For my animal, I usually use the Gunslinger Jabber for that extra critical hit damage and movement speed. I also use Gorillas in the Mist on the fadeaway skill with Gorillas in the Mist. Next, I use Interplanetary Stalker for the extra damage when I kill an enemy. It's not too useful, but it's definitely better than the other perks we have to choose from. Hunter's Eye is just a great perk for clearing ads. It's not good for using bosses unless you use the not artifact, but the class mod which allows this damage to be applied to a boss. Head Count is just a better version of the other perk, Eager to Impress. Eager to Impress you really don't need as long as you've got this. Two Fangs useful for boss damage, but it's also useful for killing ads, because, you know, the extra 40% just increases the damage you can do. Big Game is so useful for increasing the effects of Interplanetary Stalker and Furious Attack. It increases their duration and their effectiveness, giving you like an extra 10% damage. Grim Harvest for the extra action skill damage and extra gun damage. The action skill damage isn't like amazing, but the gun damage is great. The gun damage is really what I use this for. Then I use Galactic Shadow for the consistent 15% damage against bosses and ads. When it comes to gear, I say you must have Illusion's Cool and a Lyuda, because they're just so useful. Other than that, you can use whatever guns you want, really. Crossroads, a great pick. There's a few others I like. Nighthawk is great for damage. Shocking A is great for taking out shields. Other than that, you've got like Rowan's Cool. It's a bit like Lucian's Cool. I just say it's a bit worse. Other than that, you really want to get an It's Piss grenade if you don't have one. I'd say this is one of the most underrated grenades in the game. Like, the extra 20% increased damage for 6 seconds. It may not sound like a lot, but it's really useful when you're taking down those, like, really heavy enemies. The Bulwark Recharger shield is the best, because after your shields are depleted, they go instantly back to full. You may take a bit of health damage, but it's not enough. This is literally a must-have when it comes to shields. I got lucky with mine because I got plus 40% capacity. For the artifact and the class item, honestly, it doesn't matter what you use too much.
Ready to pounce. Another alpha. There can only be one. Ready for a fight? Don't hold back! You there, how are your last breaths going? More!
Let's shred you for free.
You there, how are your last breaths going? Some days you hunt, some days
on those Fl4k pricks, Walt Hunter? Man, it was sweet to watch them get crushed.